Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the show. John Maloney, I want to say Merry Christmas on you.
Merry Christmas to you and to everyone out there listening and watching and looking outside to see whether Santa is coming in to eat milk and cookies that you've put out for him.
This is a very special Don't Praise the Machine Christmas edition. This is going to be the last episode of the year, ladies and gentlemen, and then we take a little 2-week break. John, you've got some lovely Christmas decorations behind you. You've been
I'd get in the mood.
You've been filling Melbourne with Christmas cheer.
I have. It's always a strange time of year. Here you've got a snow globe behind me and a snow-covered Christmas tree, but it's about 30 degrees outside and there is smoke from bushfires in the air, so it doesn't really make sense. But we persist. Some people branch out and have it in July, and I say that's unchristian. And
Wait, who has Christmas in July?
it's kind of a thing here because I guess people want to get into the spirit of the Yuletide midwinter festival Christmas. And I say that's really taking Christmas back beyond its Christian origins to its pagan roots. And I don't want to be a part of that. Thank you. So for me, I'll take, and sure, we don't really get into whole turkeys. We kind of more into cold seafood on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I like it. I like a chilled white wine and some prawns. And actually I'm wearing this shirt because I had a Christmas lunch today with some family of Jacinta's and who'll be away for Christmas itself. And Jacinta's mum bought me this shirt for my birthday, so I thought, well, I'll make her happy and wear it to the Christmas lunch to show her how good I look in it. And that was it. Then I did. And now I'm still dressed like that. So, yeah, I'm coming to you live with a belly full of seafood and pork and salads and Christmas cheer.
I also have done a classic injuring myself from eating last night. I went to my friend Jan's house for a little potluck. I brought black bean dip and salsa homemade, and everybody brought other delicious foods, and I ate all of them, finished it off with some delicious apple strudel, and boy, do I feel like not eating for a while. And I'm wearing my famous. This is the first year, John, that we've done video Christmas episode. I realized because I typically wear this jumper gets quite a lot of wear at this time of year.
Oh, look at that! It's a skiing. For anyone listening, it's a skiing penguin. He's got lovely scarf.
I have to give a massive shout out to my dear friend Sully Owen Sullivan and his family, and his dear mother some years ago bought this for me when I had Christmas with the Sullivan family in Galway, and it was absolutely gorgeous the whole weekend, the whole time. I have such fond memories of Christmas in Galway, and his lovely mother bought me this as a gift, and so I pull it out every time of this time of year. Every year, and it always gets, always.
It's a beauty. Did you know that penguins are only found in the southern hemisphere? So that's something we do have down here is penguins. They don't have them in the Arctic. They've got polar bears. We've got penguins. So, yeah.
And and polar bears. That's where all the speaking of Christmas, that's where Coca-Cola comes from. Is the polar bears make the Coca-Cola up there in the factory.
That was such an iconic ad with the polar bear in the night, just looking at the stars with a cold glass bottle Coke.
I want it so much now. I bought Coca-Cola. I've been getting really into sugar-free Coke, just like my mother. I've been absolutely hammering sugar-free Coke, and God knows what how I'm going to pay for this later in life, because it just feel like you can't. As we always say,
aspartame or whatever
that's the thing.
It's called.
We always say, John, you can't be a pervert and not pay. And every time I take a sip of that sweet Coke, and it tastes so close to what sugar-full Coke tastes. Not like in our day. I don't know what they've done to it. In our day, Diet Coke, you'd go,
Yeah.
and diet products generally, like, do you remember Diet Cordial? It was just awful. You'd have a
awful.
sip of it and there'd be this awful metallic aftertaste. And something's happened in food tech in the last few years where I'm drinking these sugar replacement drinks and I'm just going, I can barely tell the difference. And I just feel like I'm gonna have to pay for this somehow. Life doesn't work like that. You don't get that. You shouldn't get a pleasure boost with no consequences. You cannot be a pervert and not pay.
What is that? Is that from?
It's from Punch Drunk Love.
Punch Drunk Love. Yeah, it's what
Philip Seymour Hoffman
says.
Shut up! What a great two absolute titans. He's on the phone to Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
and shut up! And we've used it for years because it's such a great line.
Yeah,
you cannot be a pervert
and not pay. It's true. It's just kind of it's become an expression that covers any situation where you've done something wrong and there's going to be consequences. And yeah, by the way, Coca-Cola polar bears have been a popular element in Coca-Cola advertising since
you said that. It sounds like an actual species of polar bear. Coca-Cola polar bears.
They were bred by Coca-Cola employed scientists. They have been a prominent element of the Coca-Cola advertising since year zero of DPTM, 1993.
I would have guessed that would have been. I remember that campaign. I think from memory, I think it was an early 3D animated.
It was
commercial.
Very cool.
Yeah. And there was a lot of media coverage around Coca-Cola this year, Christmas, for their campaign because they used AI and announced that and I've seen the ad actually. I saw it. I watched American football with my dear friend Mason last week, and it was just on like a normal ad, and it was interesting. It was interesting to see. Like you can definitely tell that it's AI by just they're kind of limited in the amount of movement and action that it can do. And it's funny, this weird thing's happening in advertising and media in general at the moment where companies to get extra attention on their campaigns, it's not really about them doing a good ad. It's about doing the ad, then telling the media, oh, we used AI to generate this whole ad. So they'll get free media. Because of course, like I'm talking about it now, shitloads of fucking publications went, oh, there's something, we're finally there. Coca-Cola have done an entire ad where they didn't have to pay anyone because it was all AI. But it's not really about the ad being any good. It's just like it's just about getting attention on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The medium is the message, as they say.
The medium is the message. And speaking of things in the media, John, I said to you, you know what would be a great way to finish out the year of DPTM would be to actually maybe I'll put a little bit of reverb on my voice for this one because I've selected my right. We're going to do 2024 memes of the year.
Lovely. Can you pitch it down a bit, please?
Yeah, sure. I'll turn the delay off. Put delay back to whole reverb.
I want to say, welcome back to 2024's
Memes of the Year.
Love that.
I always forget to turn it off.
There we go. Okay, so
I love that hat, by the way. Can I just fit that in?
thank
Love
you. My
that.
mother,
It's a beauty.
again, massive shout out to my mother Marie who bought this for me in. She bought this for me in Lillehammer when she was visiting my uncle Michael some years ago. So it's a Norwegian.
Love that blonde fur. Yeah, that's good.
Norwegian,
yes.
Norwegian ski. Yeah, Norwegian ski. Yeah. I feel like at the end of every year, John, we typically end each I seem to recall that we end every Don't Praise the Machine final episode of the year with something. We always say something like, what memes will the next year bring?
Yeah.
I feel like this is something we say. And And then we say, oh, well, I can't wait for the end of next year when we just can't imagine what
No.
and we could never have imagined what mimetic communications would take the internet by storm
Yeah.
this year. Now,
Here to
John,
talk about that is Professor Richard Dawkins.
here to
the
talk about that is
originator-
the inventor,
inventor of the meme concept.
the original Captain Sunny disposition, Richard Dawkins.
Exactly.
Dickie Dawks.
Dickie Killjoy himself.
John, I'm looking here. I've looked at a few web pages to find memes of the year, and I've stopped on soapcentral.com. But can you, before you look it up, can you guess what might be the top one, or what came top of mind?
Memes of 2024. Jeez.
Did any come top of mind, or have you not been on the internet this year? In which case, I'll get a new host.
I just have a vague visual image of saying the word brat and not knowing what it means.
That's very good. I'm the same. I don't know. I don't really understand either. That's a whole. Go on.
And the chill guy is my other one.
So
chill guy.
Yeah. So chill guy I saw on one list was number 2. I think there might be a little bit of recency bias in that because he's quite new, but at the same time, that is a great meme. John, my parents are going to be listening to this episode. Can you please explain to Marie and Stephen what the chill guy meme is?
Sure.
Can you say, please address Stephen, my father?
Yeah, okay. Hi, Stephen. Nice to be chatting to you again. Merry Christmas. Hope everything is going well in Adelaide. I'd like to talk to you about the chill guy meme, also known as My New Character, which is a digital artwork and internet meme first posted by artist Philip Banks on Twitter. Actually last year, in October last year. So I'm not quite sure why it suddenly, I mean, who knows? Whoever knows with these things, why it suddenly
the internet
flies
gods.
into the...
We don't question. Who are we to question the internet gods?
No, indeed. So typically what it is basically a kind of cheerful, sanguine, relaxed looking sort of dog, anthropomorphic dog that has jeans and sneakers and a grey sweater on. And he just looks like a very relaxed, kind of benign, harmless character. And it's always often accompanied when it's in when it's in the format where it can be accompanied by music, by a piece of music, which I don't know if it was written for the chill guy, but it's become known as just the chill guy theme. And it's a kind of dim, 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 dim. And he's just looking very, very relaxed. But often, I mean, I suppose it's a classic sort of meme trajectory where they started off using it in genuinely chill situations, and then they would use it ironically in situations that maybe most people would find threatening, but then the chill guy was just looking paradoxically chill in them. And then I saw they started using it. They started interspersing it with friend of the show, Kevin James, because there's a picture of him
where
from King of Queens, where he's gone like this. And he just looks like a kind of, like he doesn't care about whatever's going on. He just looks kind of harmless and relaxed. And so he was the original chill guy. So that's my understanding.
That was great.
Of the chill guy meme.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, Stephen.
Thank you very much, John, for sending that message out to my father, Stephen. The one that jumped to my mind, John, was the Hock Tour girl.
Of course.
Who
Classic.
could if I was to, do you want me to address your parents?
Please tell Peter. I don't think Cecilia would want to hear about it, and I don't really want her to hear about it either. So please tell Peter about the
Peter.
Hock Tour.
I want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Christmas episode of Don't Praise the Machine.
Never fucking misses an app, Peter. Yeah.
And the Hock Tour meme, it was a classic street interview that the format, to anybody who spent any time on social media, it's so common that people for the last few years, men typically, what they will do is they will get cameras or maybe just use their phone, and they go to night hotspots around America, or typically around like Western countries. It seems anywhere where particularly young, like if you're kind of between 18 and 25, it seems like every city has a hot spot that's filled with nightclubs and bars, and everybody gets really dressed up and they go out and they get the whole point is just getting really hammered and trying to meet a boy or a girl that you can go home with or make your new love interests. Yeah, and so the break. The video very much looks like that, where you've just got guys going up to girls and going, what's like the craziest experience you've ever, like what's a total turn off in the bedroom? They are the fucking, might I just add, they're the fucking lamest video. If you're doing that, like, oh my God, it's the lamest shit. But
what do you do to please your man?
What kind of stuff does your man absolutely? What did your man love in the bedroom? So these interviewers who were doing that, they went up to two young women, and one of them was Haley Welch, who was about to become a queen in our hearts. And they said to her, I think the question was, it was something like, what's a move you can do? What's a great move you can do in the bedroom, or something like that? And often, typically the girls would be a little, they would be quite defensive, because they some of them was like, oh, you've asked me an uncomfortable kind of sleazy question, I don't really know how to answer. Other times they might try and be more brash and bold, but it wouldn't be particularly interesting or funny. Haley Welch, quick as you can, just when they said what's I can't believe I'm having to explain this, what's the number one what's the number one bedroom move? And she said, you gotta spit, you got a hot tour on that thing.
And spit on that thing.
You got a hot tour and spit on that thing. Yeah. And what she was saying was that, I think in order to prepare the penis for coitus, you can use a natural mouth lubricant, saliva, spit on that thing. But Haley Welch, she had a very cute, kind of like a southern sort of drawl accent, and she was she was sort of like the girl next door, and it was just real fun. And so she said that the guys shared it on their hilarious account of nighttime antic videos, and then it exploded, and everybody was just saying, "Have you seen the Hawk Tour girl? She's charming and funny." And then it became
now she's a billionaire. Some people say.
She's been in a lot of trouble recently because she did a classic crypto scam, which everyone does these days.
No.
Yeah,
was she encouraging people to pump up the value of a cryptocurrency?
Yes, of Hawk Tour coin, and then everybody lost their money. But John, you were talking about Brat Summer.
Yeah, I love Brat Summer mainly because I didn't understand. There was a couple of things which probably I'm indicating that I'm aging out, because I thought, I don't want to hear about things being demure and mindful. I don't get what that is. And the other thing was Brat Summer, which was just like a weird font, a kind of sans serif font saying Brat on a green background. And I thought, I don't understand what this is. And then people were like, this person's Brat, that person's Brat, Luigi Mangione is Brat. And I'm like, fucking what? And it seems to, I don't know, does it mean the same as like, does it mean anything new? Or is it just kind of like, oh, we used to say goblin mode and now we say Brat, and it's just nonsense?
We used to say omnishambles and now we say Brat.
Exactly.
Do you know its origin, John, the Brat thing?
No, I don't.
Oh, this is great. This is great.
Is it something to do with a musician I don't know anything about? Maybe Sabrina Carpenter or someone like that.
I had Sabrina Carpenter on my notes today as well. I've absolutely no fucking idea who that is. When I heard it, I was like, is that Karen Carpenter's daughter who's like a musician now? I must, this is going to be a university, a whole university semester for marketing students in future, I'm sure. And I'm not prepared enough for this bit to understand why it became the cultural phenomenon that it did. but it's just an album by musician Charlie XCX that she released this year, and the album is called Brat.
Okay,
and it's this kind of perfect storm where she's been around for years, Charlie XCX. I've been hearing her songs for many years, and then suddenly like Kamala Harris was saying, she's British, and Charlie XCX, and I just always thought it was a kind of quite uniquely British musician who that was where her audience was like in the UK, maybe in Europe, and yet somehow she's released this album, and I think because she had particularly passionate super fans who were very online. I don't know the extent to which her team had a campaign that then took on a life of its own, because you couldn't. I mean, there's no way that you couldn't manufacture a like phenomenon like this. So they may have done their best thinking, oh, we'll get a few eyeballs on the album.
Yeah.
But like nobody could have predicted. Nobody in that fucking campaign meeting was going, we'll get the presidential nominee, the presidential candidate to talk about the album. Because everybody in the world will.
How do you do, fellow kids? I like Brat.
Yeah, exactly. But it says here there was some description of it as meaning. Somebody had said, oh yeah, Brat Summer means like, or Brat means oh, here we go. What does it say? Musician Charlie XCX released an album, Brat, which became a hit. The word then became a definition of confidence, independence, and attitude, and one of the most viral memes of 2024. So, I mean, it had like you said, it had a very visually distinctive font and color. Brat green, that slimy brat green.
Classic Brat green. Exactly. Yeah. Until you said that though, I didn't understand that it meant that, because that's not what the word brat typically means.
No.
And also because I just didn't really understand who Charlie XCX was.
Yeah.
I was pronouncing it Charlie XCX.
You were saying, I'm so confused about this Charlie X and her album Brat.
Brat.
John, what about our favorites? What about the Costco guys?
Costco guys.
The Costco, AJ and Big Justice.
I don't know too much about them, but I've just seen kind of what happens typically is I see these things when it's like 3 degrees from the original meme. So it'll just be like, I don't know, like a vortex with all these kind of random icons I don't understand. And then it'll say something about AJ and Big Justice. And I'm like, okay, thanks.
This one says, again, this is from soapcentral.com. This meme has 3 aspects. Mm-hmm. The father, the son, and Costco. This meme became viral because the father and son duo are seen enjoying their time at Costco, which is like a massive discount supermarket, bulk buy supermarket in the US.
Why are they called Big Justice and AJ?
Yeah, I don't know that bit. Their time at Costco, eating hamburgers and rating things. But what I love that came out of the Costco guys, apparently the Big Justice, who's the dad. What I love about their story is that they exploded onto the internet and everybody was saying this is great, we're loving the Costco meme. But it turns out the dad, Big Justice, has been desperately trying to be famous on the internet for fucking years. And nothing had taken off, but he has this very, very deep digital footprint of like being like a total desperado to be famous on the internet. And then he did this one thing and it worked at last. Dreams really do come true, Big Justice. But what I love that came out of the Costco guys is that they partnered with your favorite man, John, and I am going to need you also to explain this to my mother, Marie. They partnered with the Rizzler.
The Rizzler, not to be confused with the Riddler. I know that's what Marie's thinking. Is that the guy from Batman Returns? No, it's close. It's actually, or Batman Forever, perhaps. It's actually just a kind of cute, chubby, heavy-set young man who has a kind of signature move where he taps his chin, rubs his chin,
Yeah.
in a kind of provocative, flirtatious way that is, in my view, inappropriate for a child. But I don't. You'll have to explain to me why what he has to do with AJ and Big Justice.
That's a great question. What if this seems like a perplexity question, because I'm sure perplexity understands why, because I also, it is also because the Rizzler, he existed on his own. I'm assuming that they're all in the same area, geographically speaking. But it is strange, isn't it, that a man
just wandering
and
around Costco, then they ran into this other guy, this other would-be influencer.
But also just that man, Big Justice, or maybe maybe it's just strange that he.
I hope Big Justice has a working with children check.
This is the thing. It's kind of strange that that the Costco guys got famous, AJ and Big Justice, and then they just said, will you please hand us that little boy that's doing quite well on the internet as well, so we can just because they're not related to each other at all. It's just an internet thing.
Where are the Rizzler's family?
Good question. Apparently his dad runs the account. The Rizzler's dad is the one behind the Instagram account. So I'm going to put here.
Good. It's better than if it was just unaccounted for.
What's going to happen to? Man, I really want to keep an eye on the Rizzler.
What will happen to the Rizzler?
Well, what's going to happen to the Rizzler? Is that going to? Will he continue to Rizz, or will he? I mean, it's much more likely that he'll fade into obscurity, and then in 10 years we'll be doing a "Where is the Rizzler now?"
True. Yeah. And he will have come to some ignominious end. But I think that probably both him and AJ are not going to go on to great things. But I do think I don't really know what they offer. I know that he has his signature move. I guess he's the kind of guy that would quite easily get picked up for an ad campaign, but his image doesn't leave him with a great deal of room for personal development. Christian Joseph, that's his real name.
Yeah.
He is in 3rd grade. Well, he's got some time to figure out how he wants to rizzle in this world.
He's going to be tripping on a Rizzle dip for a few years, yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he should just make bank, put all his money in. I like that my Google algorithm, by the way, is well designed for me, because it just took me to an article when I Googled him that said, if you're frantically Googling who is the Rizzler, this article is for you.
A lot of lists, John. You'll be happy to know that we are right in the middle of that zeitgeist. Every article had Ray Gun in it as one of the biggest memes of 2024. We don't need to go back over why she is famous. Except once again, I just do want
partly because of us.
Partly because of us. I just do want to make sure that I really want to lodge in our audience's mind the description widely mocked, because I think it's important that stays top of mind, because as we've said on the show many times before, everybody's trying to memory hole why she's famous, and if you just keep in mind, if somebody says to you, well, tell me about Raygun, I don't know who she is, you can say she was widely mocked for her Olympic performance, and then we're staying true
in the first
to
sentence,
ourselves.
really. Yeah, you're right. Don't become a slave to her PR team. Fight it. Remember.
That's right.
Remember why she came to your attention, and remember the thoughts that you had in July when you watched her in Paris.
What about, John? I'll do a couple more here and then we'll move on. The brother meme.
Oh, yeah.
Your favorite.
Man, Australia's punching above its weight this year.
That's true. That's true. The Muslim cleric who had one of his, I don't know what it's called in Islam, a sermon. What is it? Do you know what it's called in?
Don't know.
In Islam, but he's a, I think, slightly controversial Muslim preacher in Australia, and one of his sermons was recorded, as a lot of these things are these days, for his congregation. I don't know any of these words in Islam. I'm just using Christian ones. And
Muhammad Hoblos.
Yeah, and he's talking. What is he talking about? I think he's saying.
He says.
But what is it in? Yeah, go on, John.
According to Know Your Meme, on December 20th, 2019, so a while ago, again, sometimes these things percolate for a number of years. Now, this is interesting because it shows you that the memes, much like the fact that the next pandemic virus is probably already with us in this world, the things that go viral on the internet are probably already floating around at some obscure corner.
That's a great point. 4chan, I can almost guarantee.
So, the chill guy, he's been around since 2023. Brother, What's That? Has been around since apparently 2019. Lectures from Muhammad Hoblos, that was his YouTube channel. It posted a roughly 1 hour lecture, it's calling it here, called Are You a Man? Very Powerful Speech, which gained over 2.1 million views and 57,000 likes in 5 years. And at the 52 minutes and 24-second mark, Hoblos says, "Ooh, brother, ooh, what's that? What's that, brother?"
Yeah.
And that was the bit that the meme gods decided to seize on.
What's it in reference to? What was he saying ooh to? Was it about like two men lying together or something? I think it was something about, because I think he's saying this is what it is to be a good man. This is what it is to be a good man in the world.
It'd be something like, I think it is, I did look that up at one point, and it was, some sort of display of modern kind of feminized masculinity.
Yeah, that's right.
Which he would say provokes people to ask, brother, what's that?
Yeah, it says here
a good question, in my opinion.
The lecture took place. Hoblos' original intent was to illustrate a point about societal issues and personal responsibility, but the phrase has transcended its context. That sounds like it's been quite generous. I don't feel like it's just societal issues, but Hoblos has accepted the meme with good humor.
Has he? That's interesting. I was just going to ask if he's aware of it.
I don't know if this is. I feel like Perplexity might be confused here. Yeah. Using it as an opportunity to engage with a broader audience while promoting the positive message about gratitude and respect for food. I think for food, it is in Islamic teachings. I think it's about how you eat. I think it was something to do with. I think maybe he was saying it's something about like don't eat on the floor like a dog or something.
Right. Okay.
Like that, and then he goes, "Ooh, brother, ooh, what's that? What's that, brother?" I liked as well that accent that I don't really hear so much over here in the kind of second, third generation Italian, Lebanese, Greek, Australian accent.
It's like a sort of Levant Australian accent. So I suspect he's probably from the Middle East or, from Lebanon perhaps. I don't know, but it's that kind of accent. So it's a nice representation. He could well be from Melbourne, I don't know, but certainly of an Australian subculture. But it is weird. I mean, I just wonder, how did they seize on, how does that happen? People are watching in his community, pretty sort of small niche, and they go, "Oh, it's funny the way he says this bit." They share it with a friend, and they go take it to 52 minutes and 24 seconds, and everyone's laughing at it. And then some meme lord gets it and goes like, "Oh, I'm going to do something with this."
Man, I would love to be a meme lord. What a job. Brother. Ooh. Is that all the memes that I want to talk to you about, John? Maybe you remember the Turkish shooter from the Olympics?
Oh, yeah. The kind of lo-fi badass Turkish shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was
great.
Which just he was competing in the shooting at the Paris Games, and unlike everybody else who was covered in protective hearing protection and also glasses that help you, huge interesting lenses that help you see the target better. Yeah. He just came out with none of that.
I mean, raw dogging is another 2024 phenomenon, in fact, which I just accidentally used in my way of describing him. But that started as people on planes, or there was, I don't know, one particular meme of a guy on a plane saying like, I'm raw dogging this 8-hour flight, in that he was not providing himself with any stimulation. He was just staring at the back of the seat in front of him.
I raw dogged, which I've used that expression as well, John, to refer to this very thing. I raw dogged a long run yesterday. I went for a long run through the city for a few hours with no phone and no earphones. So just me and the city.
From way back.
I'm a raw dogger from way back. John, is that all the memes? There's another one like the Nikocado avocado thing. That's not sort of like a huge. That's not so pervasive throughout the world, but that was a great story that we've mentioned on the show before. The Nikocado avocado, who had very much positioned himself as a kind of lol cow character on the internet. Are you familiar with lol cow?
Lol cow, no.
Yeah, have a look. Maybe just look that up and just read what that is, John, to the audience. What is a lol cow?
What is lol cow? Okay. A lol cow. No, I think that's someone on Reddit, Reddit misleading me. A lol cow is a person or group of people laughed at for actions that they take despite not trying to be funny.
Maybe that's not as apt because he kind of
correct.
Yeah, because he very much did put himself out there to be like he knew what he was doing. Yeah, he was baiting people. But Nikocado Avocado, who was a big vegan influencer years ago on YouTube, and then he decided to stop being a vegan and become a mukbanger and eating meat, and then he mukbanged his way to 7,000 kilograms, and then he used to make just kind of rage bait videos on the internet. And then and everybody was like, you're going to die. He did videos where he was wearing a kind of sleep apnea device because he was claiming that he couldn't. His doctor said, you have to wear this all the time now because you're so fat you can't breathe properly anymore. Yeah. And everyone was just waiting for him to die or for something horrible to happen because he looked like he was killing himself with food. He was huge and
he's sort of a very deranged and mean-spirited person.
That was the character. Yeah. And I would have said deranged and mean-spirited as well up until this year when he reappeared on the internet after recently posting a video of himself in his 7,000 kilogram form. And then like a couple of weeks later, he posted a video where he was just like skinny again and said, I've been secretly losing weight. Essentially, that was what was suggested. And it was just an incredible thing where everybody had been watching him for years thinking he was about to kill himself from food. And then he just appeared and said, look, I've lost all the weight.
And what was the point of that? He just was like, why was he fooling people?
We don't know yet. We still don't know. He keeps posting videos where he says, I'm playing 4D chess, but he hasn't really revealed what the 4D chess point was yet.
He's going to be JD Vance's running mate in 2028, probably. And
what a ticket. What a ticket. Vance and avocado.
I like to give a few honourable mentions, if I may, to a couple of memes that have touched me this year. First one is the Four Seasons Orlando baby, which I quite liked.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember that? Where the baby is asked who wants to go to the Four Seasons Orlando, and he puts his hand up and says, me, in a way that's kind of eerily enthusiastic, but also kind of beyond his years in terms of the articulate way that he talks about it. The other one is Saddam Hussein's hiding place, which is referred to in an article about 2024 memes by Rolling Stone as a 2024 meme. I thought it maybe went back a bit further, but perhaps it just came back to prominence this year. It says the graphic has gone viral several times in the last decade, but in 2024, TikTok has started a trend in which they spotted the Hussein figure shape in everything from chicken tenders to ham to toilet paper to Cheetos, which is a strange what a weird culture that we have where the hiding place, a kind of blueprint or map of the hiding place of a deposed dictator who was escaping reprisals from US troops has become memed years after his death. Then you've got Moodang, everyone's favorite pygmy hippopotamus who has started a thriving trade in bushmeat, pygmy hippo bushmeat, which has become a very popular menu item thanks to Moodang. So well done, everyone, on another great year in memes.
Great year in memes. John, what did you have on your docket this week, pal?
Look, I've got a little Christmas wish.
Yes.
I know that we are quite critical of popular culture on this show, particularly the film industry, but I was talking to some friends the other day and they said, you should talk about this on the podcast. So here I am doing it. There's a phenomenon which I would like to encourage more of, which always struck me as particularly strange and is a great example, I guess, of kind of life imitating art in a particularly sort of capitalistic way. And it came up because a friend of mine had been to a club called Coco Bongo, which is in Mexico and has, in fact, several locations in Mexico. There's one in Cancun, there's one in Punta Cana, and it's a club, a nightclub, which is based entirely on a club of the same name, which appears in the film The Mask with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And one of the things that struck me as kind of notable about that, I guess, is that The Mask came out a very long time ago.
Yeah, I'm going to say 94.
Yeah, around
93 or 94. That's the kind of question that I would get 1 year the wrong way on a pub quiz and get very angry at myself.
On a pub quiz, exactly. And there was an urban legend for a long time that Jim Carrey was the owner or was in some other way affiliated with this chain, but apparently isn't, but must be.
It must be where he meets. It's where he meets Cameron Diaz and they do the dance.
That's right.
The Coco Bongo.
That's the one. It's the Coco Bongo in The Mask. For some reason in Mexico, there was a club which popped up, and I don't know if The Mask is supposed to be set in Mexico. Maybe.
No, it's not.
But I didn't think so either. But then people were like, "Oh, let's just create a club." Because initially I thought, well, maybe it's in a town, and people who are listening, viewing, who know more about this than I do can chime in. But my understanding is, contrary to my initial expectation, which was at some place like you might have a location from, a movie in a town that is synonymous with that movie, but actually it's just in a series of towns in Mexico. But nonetheless, these clubs are explicitly affiliated with The Mask. They have mask themed celebrations. They have mask decorations in their outlets. Wow. They have mask merchandise, etc. And so people have it's had this second life, this fairly obscure location in a very old movie. And I thought that's a great example of a variety of, or a genre of venue, which is the kind of venue that only exists because it's mentioned in a film. And another great example of that, of course, is Bubba Gump Shrimp, which is a genuine American seafood restaurant chain, which was inspired by the film Forrest Gump. And of course, in that film, Bubba teams up with Forrest and they form a shrimp boat company and make a shitload of money apparently from shrimping. And so that's again, that's a 1994 film. I don't know whether there was something about tie-ins at that stage of filmmaking that meant we need to turn this into a franchise that just kind of outlives the film. I mean, maybe in 100 years people will forget, but they'll just know Bubba Gump Shrimp and they'll forget that it was made in as an homage to a very old film that nobody remembers. And I asked ChatGPT for other examples of this because I thought this is exactly the kind of thing where you would try to Google it and maybe you wouldn't really know how to search for it.
Yeah.
And then Google would be a bit useless. But actually ChatGPT was also fairly useless, and I don't think it really got the memo. But I'm going to try again now, just in case you have any thoughts as to how to frame the question. But I think if I just say to it something like, I'm trying to find examples of businesses that are directly inspired by fictitious businesses.
Yeah, I just have I've said to Perplexity what businesses and clubs have been inspired by movies. The first one is Bubba Gump Shrimp.
Yeah.
The second one is Lebowski's, located in Edinburgh. The bar is themed around the Big Lebowski. There's a lot of Lebowski themed bars around the world. I think.
There you go. Okay.
There's the Cantina, a Star Wars themed bar in Edinburgh that immerses guests in the universe of the franchise. The Korova Milk Bar, a tribute to Clockwork Orange in White Plains, New York.
Nice. I think there's also, for example, like there'll be, one-off kind of schmaltzy things, but there's things like, there's probably a Moe's Tavern, there's probably a Central Perk Cafe, etc. And things that, but I mean, this is a bit different because the business ends up being a thing in its own right, like a place that you would go regardless of your concern for the film or whether you're a fan of the film or whether you even know about the film. So DPTMers, if you have any other examples, I'd love to hear them. But also if you have any wishes, things that you've seen, beloved films of yours that you think, I wish this place was a real place. Why don't they have this kind of business in real life? The place that I thought about when I was thinking through this is the kind of hideout of the Foot Clan in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which always struck me as a very cool environment where you have, when to watch that as a kid, you go, well, this is like an underground lair lit with neon lights. They got skate ramps. They got cigarettes, regular or menthol. they probably
arcade games.
Yeah, arcade games. Probably comics. Probably, you can eat all the candy you want. You might even be able to have a cheeky beer. It's just a great time.
Yeah, so that would be an excellent kind of entertainment.
Foot Clan.
Imagine having your Bucks night in the Foot Clan lair. I can just hear the music. There's this sort of thumping rap, like pop rap song. This is how we ba. How we ba. We got everything you want.
And I think that's Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell. That's great.
Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
So he could do it. He could launch the first Foot Clan bar.
Anything you want to do. Anything you want to do. So, got your cigarettes. That was great. The one I would want is I would love, and I also feel like maybe somebody has made one of these. I want to have turkey sandwich at the Cafe 80s from Back to the Future 2, which is when Marty McFly goes into the future. He visits a cafe which is at that point in time a retro cafe, kind of like at the time 1950s diners were a big thing in the 80s. Yeah. And so it made sense that when they filmed Back to the Future 2 in the late 80s, that it would be funny if in the future the nostalgic restaurants were based on the 1980s. And so he goes to the Cafe 80s, and in the Cafe 80s are all the famous touch points of the 1980s. Ronald Reagan is on the screen. Michael Jackson is on the screen. Pepsi is everywhere because they were paid to have their product in the film.
It's weird, isn't it? Because this is another thing that we've talked about on episodes past is how kind of very quickly self-aware and self-conscious people were of what the 80s was and what it represented. Because that, even though that's made during the 80s, it's actually a pretty good 80s themed restaurant. Whereas I think if you said to someone, make a 2020s themed restaurant, they'd be like, I don't know.
It would just be all Brat. They would just go, oh well, whatever. Well, again, the recency bias thing. Just go, oh, I guess the 2020s is all about Brat.
Exactly. Can I please have the Hot Tuah burger with Moodang fries? They'd say.
Heavy. Can you heavy on the moodang, please? John, we're at 50 minutes, which would be a good place to end. But at the same time, I did have one more thing on my list, which was just I was going through. I guess I probably should mention this because it's not going to make sense to do it at the start of the new year. Just the Wrapped phenomenon that Spotify has created. Did you look at your Spotify Wrapped?
Yeah, I did.
This year? Spotify Wrapped. I think everybody in our audience is going to know. The popular music app Spotify at the end of the year gives you a tailored, personalized, data-driven, kind of entertaining carousel-style look at all the songs and podcasts and audio-based media that you enjoyed on Spotify. And they really pioneered something that now every app does, which is take your data, and at the end of the year, they serve you this little slideshow to get you real excited, to get you going, wow, I'm starting to have a nostalgic, emotional connection to this product, which is going to make me continue to purchase it. Plus,
100%.
All of these images are very shareable on social media, which is amazing free marketing for all of these companies. And as a BBC article that I read said, data is a really good way to humble brag as opposed to actually taking selfies in all your best clothes surrounded by all your best people and belongings. You can use Spotify to share your personal music choices on Spotify Wrapped. John, so Spotify Wrapped also makes a playlist as well as serving you the little carousel. Have you got your phone there?
Yep, I do.
If you wouldn't mind, if you open Spotify and you look up the top, there might be a little menu thing that says Wrapped somewhere.
There
if
is,
you go,
I'm just
click that, and then your top songs 2020. No, there'll be a playlist that's not the actual.
Okay, Wrapped playlist.
Your top songs 2024?
2024, yeah.
What do you got? What's number one?
Well, can I just make a few preliminary excuses? I think there was something wrong with it this year. And
mine's broken.
Mine's
Guys,
broken.
Stop looking. Guys, there's something wrong with mine.
I heard a number of people say that this, and it might just be because they're bored, because it's not that interesting and they've done it a few times. But a lot of people, the buzz online was like Wrapped was shit this year. It was just very standard. They didn't do anything interesting. And some people were saying, apparently, that they had delegated too much of the task to AI and that it had fucked a few things up. So people were getting songs in there or albums in there or whatever top things, and they were like, seems like bullshit.
It's funny you should mention that because I hadn't thought of that, and mine, it gave me very much that feeling as well. Now that I think about it, there was the number one song makes sense to me. I've listened to that a lot, but there's a whole bunch in the top 10 that I'm just like, I don't feel like I listened to these that much. And just as another little side point, which I'll just mention and then get back to the main Wrapped bit. I was listening to one of my other favorite podcasts this week, which is the Not a Diving podcast with Scuba, which is a dance music industry podcast, but they also just talk about music culture more generally. And he had a music journalist, a music marketing guy on last week, and they were both saying that Spotify has been moving more and more towards algorithmically generated playlists over the last few years versus 5 or 6 years ago. If you listened to a Spotify editorial playlist, so one that had, I think the famous ones are, there's a very famous one called Rap Caviar that I think was all the hottest rap songs of the time, and that was specifically created by some employee that they had who had amazing taste, and that playlist got really big. But then more recently, people will have noticed over the last few years that when you open these curated playlists, like, I'm going to go and find a Rap Caviar, it says at the top of the playlist, this is like it's specific to you, and and then they claim that it's a combination of curated and algorithmically serving you songs that it thinks you will like. Anyway, they were saying on this podcast that that is because Spotify has basically been downsizing and firing a lot of its employees because it wants to cut costs.
Yep.
And so rather than having tastemakers anymore, it's all of these tasks are just being trusted to the computers so that they can up their profit margins and run leaner. But the end result seems to be people going, this is getting shitter. I mean, I don't mind. We've said this on the podcast before as well. Definitely, I'm much closer to cancelling. I would have never thought of cancelling Spotify even 3 or 4 years ago because I just used it so much. And nowadays, the recommended is so bad because I just listened to too much. You know, it doesn't seem to know that I don't want to listen to lo-fi hip-hop endlessly. It just thinks that's the only... And then there's no way that you can tell it, please, I don't want to listen to any more lo-fi hip-hop.
Yeah.
So that's...
There seems to be... And you were saying people were writing to them saying, what do we do about this? And they were basically saying like, yeah, good luck. We don't really give a fuck, you know. So, yeah, for example, I mean, I got top artists.
Yeah.
Bob Seger, fair enough. I played a lot of Bob Seger this year.
But do you have... If you don't mind my asking, this is what you should be seeing, John? Like, because this is like an actual playlist with...
Yeah, I've got that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Bob Seger was your top artist.
But then, I just want to point this out. So number 2 is Beyonce. And I did not, she's no way she was my number 2 artist. Like,
with this,
I played a few songs from 16 Candles or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? That's an 80s movie. But anyway, like I played a couple of songs because they were quite good. And because I was interested in what it was going to sound like. But, you know, that was pretty limited compared to the amount of other stuff I was playing. So I was like, why is that in there?
Exactly. Why is that in there? Why? What? How could Beyonce possibly have been
my number 2
pushed to the top of your
and also
go on.
And because it's Beyonce, it makes you go like something weird here because it's not some obscure blues artist who I listened to a few times. It's Beyonce who I listened to a few times. So is there some kind of commercial forces intervening in what the algorithm is feeding me? So my top songs 2024, the first one, which I did listen to quite a few times, is Lovin' On Me by Jack Harlow. It's a catchy little tune.
You often surprise me with these, like, you will pick one extremely youthy rap or hip hop song each year and just be listening to it. What's that song called, John? I'm going to listen to
the kind of things that Steve Buscemi listened to in that blues film, that indie blues movie.
What's it? Ghost World.
Ghost World. Love It On Me by Jack Harlow. Next one, Night Moves by Bob Seger. Again, that's
great song.
You know, so a steep fall off in terms of my cachet there. And then I had Throw Your Arms Around Me by Mark Seymour, which I did go through a phase of listening to earlier this year. Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap. And
Imogen Heap.
A Millie by Lil Wayne, everybody's favorite. Yeah.
A Millie. How funny,
that.
John.
I do love that track.
You're going to be such a cool dad. Mine is just really jangle, 80s jangle pop, jangle pop, because I did listen to quite a lot of that. The top song I had is a song called Medicine by a band called J Forever, the letter J, the number 4, and then EVA. And I can highly recommend, they're Australian, I believe, and I highly recommend anyone go and listen to Medicine by J Forever. Okay. I did love that song and just played it endlessly this year. And then it's a bit of Khruangbin.
Oh, nice.
Which I'm sure a lot of people have, but then Not Strong Enough by Boy Genius I did listen to a ton. But then it is just like loads and loads of lo-fi hip hop that I don't feel like I listened to.
Yeah. Or even if you did, it's like it's not picking up the fact that that's a context specific thing that's not part of your music taste in the same way. So Spotify, please go back to real people and wait until the robots are a bit better because they're still falling short.
I also had Spotify Wrapped-esque products on these apps of mine. So Strava is probably the other main. Strava is the exercise social media app that I use. So when you go running and you log your exercise on Strava, and then it shares it with other people in your community. So Strava does a Wrapped where they tell how, which you can imagine people love that. It tells you how far you ran. It tells you, at least in the running one, people use it for cycling and other exercise. So it said, this is how far you ran. This was the route that you ran the most. This was like your top speed. So that's very cool. And then my Pocket Casts, which is my podcast app that I listen to, that always tells me what podcasts I listened to the most that year.
I have to check that because I listen to podcasts on Pocket Casts too, and I haven't
have
seen
a look.
my
There's
Pocket Cast Wrapped.
There's a Pocket Casts Wrapped, and then some more obscure ones. The one, so Bolt is an app like Uber, but Uber probably does it as well. Gives you like your transport Wrapped, this is how many this is how many rides you took with us. This is how far you traveled. This kind of thing. Duolingo, the very famous language learning app, they do a this is how many hours you spent studying. This is the levels that you jumped. Then, according to the BBC, Tesco and Sainsbury's did your favorite groceries and the groceries that you bought the most, and then people were sharing on social media. Like I was in the top 2% of people that bought capsicums last year.
Top 0.5% of Tunnock's tea cake purchases.
That's right.
2024.
That's right. Yeah.
It's funny how this stuff, both feeds but also drives our interest in kind of quantifying our lives and marking our progress in this very sort of machine-like way. I've noticed an interesting thing with lawyers and particularly barristers on LinkedIn, and I don't want to name names because, it's cultural. We're all just part of the culture. It's not their fault, but people will, shout out to my friend Dan who pointed out a particular example of this to me the other day. People who will say, okay, everyone, here's what I did this year. And they'll say, I was in 6 trials. I was in 5.
No way.
Yeah, I was in 5 interlocutory applications. I cross-examined 3 witnesses. And I'm like...
No way.
And I thought, that was probably a pretty unpleasant experience for those witnesses. I'm not sure how they'd feel about being in your, sort of Spotify Wrapped.
My law Wrapped.
Yeah, exactly. Law Wrapped. And I thought, it's funny because, depends on the... Maybe it depends on the type of law that you do as to whether that's crossing a line or in bad taste. Because if I said, 6 of my clients got deported this year and put that on LinkedIn, people would be like, don't tell us that.
In the Spotify Wrapped design.
Yeah.
Because that's what people...
Exactly. And then, 5 of my clients didn't get bail and are awaiting trial or something. And then I thought, what do paramedics do? Do they go I had to administer CPR 19 times this year and 8 of the people survived or something. That's their the paramedic Wrapped.
Yeah, I was attacked by 7 ice addicts.
Exactly. And I needed 9 stitches over the course of 2024.
Yeah. And that totally is I think Spotify Wrapped is the reason. You could argue also that it's just the general gamification of our lives through mobile phone apps. Apparently Spotify Wrapped, I saw this on social media in one post, so I haven't double checked it, but apparently the whole concept was created by an intern at Spotify one year, where she went to them and said, I've got an idea for something we could do at the end of the year. And she had a pitch deck, some slides, and then they thought, oh, this is a great idea, let's trial it. And now it's become the cultural phenom that it has. And now everything's wrapped. Life is wrapped. That's going to be my book.
On this podcast, we've even wrapped. It's so meta.
I'm just having a look here. I wonder if...
How has Wrapped performed in 2024? This is in the top 50% of Wrapped, I reckon.
I can guarantee you the apps that I'm just having a look here at the apps, and I'm like giggling to myself thinking the apps that definitely don't want you to know how much you use them. So the first one I'm thinking of is McDonald's. I don't think McDonald's is going to give you McDonald's Wrapped.
No, people will just be upset. Or
At themselves, yeah.
Or
just go,
OnlyFans isn't telling OnlyFans subscribers, this is how many minutes you spent this year ignoring your wife and children and instead sitting on the toilet looking at OnlyFans.
This is how much seed you spilled this year. This is how many potential offspring who could have contributed to the globe.
Exactly.
Gone down the drain because you
could have offset the aging population, but you didn't.
So yeah, they're definitely not going to tell me. I would love to know if the ladies out there, if there's period tracker Wrapped, and if that, and I'm trying to wonder what data might be of you, like what kind of gamified tracking cycle.
I mean, those apps definitely exist, so there must be a bit of that. Or
write us in,
Jacinta
guys.
and I are getting into the world of baby apps, which is a wonderful.
Oh no way, man! That's a whole. My God, that's a whole episode. Man, that is a whole episode in itself.
There's one which I discovered recently where it's like takes a kind of Tinder concept and applies it to picking baby names. So if I put a name in the app and Sint has already put the same name in the app, then it goes, it's a match, and that becomes a sort of super list.
Ah, wow.
Yeah. So bongus or, cabbage. Those are the two front runners.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. I wonder if Waking Up by Sam Harris, see, that does tell you all throughout the year. You can always check how many minutes, how many combined minutes you've meditated. Also, I think it's all the food ones, isn't it, that you don't want to know.
Does YouTube have one? Does it go, you spent this many minutes this year in some depraved rabbit hole?
Your brain has been your brain has been rotted this much through going down our rabbit hole.
Many synapses have atrophied this year as a result of your consumption of YouTube.
You've been skibbity toileted to this level
exactly
this year.
Yeah, imagine if you were in the top 1% of skibbity toilet fans, you'd just be some glassy-eyed nutter.
Well, John, that sounds like a great way to end the episode. And I think we both want to say thank you so much to everybody who's been tuning in this year in 2024. We love you. We appreciate you. Been a lot of changes at the show for the better.
Big year. Yeah, it's been probably our biggest year yet. We've come across a variety of different... We've come through to you via a variety of different media.
Yeah.
And that's been an exciting development.
This has been the Don't Praise the Machine. We should have done a Don't Praise the Machine Wrapped. We've had over 1 million views on. We've had over 1 million views on social media for our shorts. We have been filming with our fancy Sony ZV-E10s. And even before that, we did a little bit of filming on our mobile phones. I remember John, I can't believe we didn't mention this. Last year, the Christmas episode, we recorded together in North Adelaide.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that right?
Far out.
Wasn't that right? Because you came to visit me in Adelaide, and we did
the Christmas episode?
I think if it's not the Christmas episode, it was close to the Christmas episode, and there's that photograph of us on the bed in the hotel on Melbourne Street.
Yeah. There you go.
And so, but that was around about the time that we tried to start filming, because we both brought our tripods, our mobile phone camera tripods, and we were trying to get it to work. And now we're coming to you in beautiful 1080p. Maybe next year, who knows, 4K if my contract with Vodafone expires in the next 3 months, which means I'm free to choose another provider. And if they give me crazy speeds, then maybe we can start uploading in 4K.
In 4K.
I
Can
mean,
you
the
imagine it?
ZV-E10 it can shoot in 4K, and we're looking great on the YouTube. And
Yeah.
that's-
DPTM number 143. That was our first, according to what I'm looking at. That was January 9th this year.
Wow, there you go.
So we've basically done, I think that would be every episode this year has been done in video. And
Yep.
it's been a great year for that reason. And obviously the first episode we come back, I think it'll be in January 2025.
January 7 will be the first.
There you go.
Tuesday, January 7th will be the first episode. Just so everybody knows, we take our little annual 1 week break, and then we're back on
Hiatus.
January 7th. So no episode for, like, in the previous years, we've done a Christmas episode to kind of bridge the gap, but we decided this year that that's going to be this, and that's going for an hour and 11 minutes already. And so just listen
That'll
to this.
take you through Boxing Day. Yeah.
Just listen to this twice, or go through.
You could listen to like 35 minutes.
Well, I can't.
apart
Next
for each.
year. Next year, I'll just tell AI to make a best of compilation
Great
of
idea.
Don't Praise the Machine, in much the same way that when TV shows didn't want to pay writers and actors for one
Clip
episode
show.
per season, they would do a clip show.
Yeah.
And fuck, maybe that's
Or we
an
could-
app that's an app I can make is an AI, and I could call it like clip show, and it makes it takes any media and turns it into a 80s, 90s
Great idea.
style sitcom clip show.
Yeah. And you can have a bit of kind of AI generated patter between the characters or whoever it is, the central cast of the podcast / news program / fictional sitcom just at the start, where because often that needs a bit of a setup where they go, okay, we're in some situation where we're remembering what we used to do or something, and then it just goes into the clips.
The Simpsons used to do it really well. They used to do. They used to mock because it's appeared that they were from what I recall, like every show. I think the network just told them you have to do one clip show this season because we want to save a bit of money, or it's like a timing issue. And so they use the opportunity to mock the format of the clip show, where it's this really forced and quite nonsensical narrative that's woven between the whole things. And Troy McClure hosts one of them.
That's right. It'll have titles like one of them I just saw recently was "So It's Come to This," a Simpsons clip show.
That's right. Yeah.
And I recently rewatched an episode of 30 Rock where they mock the formula as well, because they say because one of the main characters, Tracy, is leaving or threatening to leave the show, and so Tina Fey says, "We've had some great times with Tracy on the show," and then Alec Baldwin's character just says, "Yeah, I'm remembering some of them right now." She said, "Me too." And then they just stand there, and there's no cutaway.
There's no sort of the picture doesn't start to go blurry and swirl, and there's a chime.
That's right.
That's how we know that we're remembering. And we started the Patreon this year. Thank you so much to our beautiful Patreons.
It's been
who
great.
Subscribe. And I think that's John. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap on 2024.
I think that's 2024 wrapped. We didn't ask one another if it had been a good year. You know what I always find so hilarious is I feel like at the end of every year, people always go, "Oh, it's been a challenging year. It's been a tough." Nobody ever goes, "Nah, it was good. It was good this year." I know the previous year was like a tough one, a challenging, tough one that had tough times and challenges. But this year was like, oh, it was all gravy. This was a big old gravy.
Piece of piss.
Yeah, this was a piece of piss.
It was easy.
How do you
out
feel?
there.
Maybe you can.
I defy life to throw some challenges my way, because this was a cakewalk.
Absolute cakewalk. What would you got pregnant this year?
I got pregnant. I started the year with some ultra revealing episodes about going up to defile cups at various clinics in New South Wales, and I'm finishing it. Obviously, I don't think quite by the time I come back to you, but who knows? But I think not too long after that, There's going to be a tiny baby born.
Yeah.
He'll be
Tiny
on the.
babe.
He'll be interrupting like that kid in the famous clip from COVID years where the guy was doing a very serious interview about geopolitics and his baby marched in. That'll be me.
That's so good. That's that's one of my absolute favorite clips of all. And I do something when I'm out with friends and I feel like being a bit silly. I do the march of the girl who marches into
so
the room.
good, isn't it?
It's so cute.
Yeah,
And
just like this confident sort of bouncy.
Yeah, I think I've said that before on the podcast, but yeah, I do that. I do the confidence bouncing. I must say, before I forget, massive congratulations to my dear friends Scott and Steph, who had little baby Angus. Angus, the beautiful Scottish name Angus, and they're going to call him Gus as well as short.
Yeah, great name.
Which is super cute. So shout outs to them. I've already been getting a bunch of very cute photos. And that is a wrap. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into 2024. It's been great to have you. And 2025 is going to be even bigger and better because we stay on the top and we don't stop. John, do you want to do the other bit?
Yeah.
And do next. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Do the what?
I was going to say,
okay.
You were probably going to do.
I give you permission to micromanage. Please go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you're probably going to do it anyway, but I was saying just change it from next week to next year.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah. And were we doing that last year anyway? I'll find out.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a great, by the way, everyone, it is a great opportunity to go back and really delve deep into that catalog, especially if you're a new listener and you think, oh no, there's no new episode this week. Well, there's hundreds now of episodes to choose from, stretching back all the way to 2021. But until we see you again, we can't wait to see you next year
at the podcast.